readers, writers, and friends, Story Serpent here, and today we are talking about Blood Rose Rebellion by Rosalynn Ives. This is a book from the before times. This trilogy started in 2017. It was published by Alfred A. Knopf, and the last book in the series was published in 2019. So, way back before COVID, and literally every single piece of media we were reading and watching was girl boss take action in ways that don't make sense for a woman to be fighting. Rosalynn Ives crafted a really thoughtful trilogy about what it would actually look like for a young woman to be caught up in war. It is a historical fantasy, YA, and I think we're going to have a good time with this one. But before we get into all of that, today's random words are like, share, subscribe, treasonous. So what does the book, we'll just read what book one has to say about itself, shall we? Born into high British society, Anna Arden has been groomed for a position she will never fill. Though a member of the Luminates, the ruling class who use magic to exercise power, Anna cannot perform the simplest spells, but sometimes, by accident, she breaks them. After drawing unwanted attention from the magical elite, Anna is sent from England to her family's once powerful but now oppressed native Hungary. Her life might as well be over. But Anna soon realizes that nothing is as it seems. The people around her hold dangerous secrets, from her aloof cousin Noemi to the fierce and handsome Romani Gabor, to the magic-wielding Luminates. The society she has known all her life is crumbling into discontent. Her lack of magic may mean more than she imagines. In the company of nobles, revolutionaries, and Romani, Anna must choose, deny her unique power and cling to the life she's always wanted, or embrace her gift, spark a rebellion, and change the world forever. So, we are promised war, we are promised political intrigue. The mention of the handsome Gabor tells us that there's going to be some romance in here as well. And let me tell you guys, book one absolutely delivers. It is well paced. It is well executed. In terms of the writing and the prose, if I have one little gripe, it's that Rosalynn Ives writes a beautiful description. She can pen descriptions beautifully, which is one of the first things really good writers know how to do really well very often. The problem is these beautiful descriptions take a lot of words to do. And as a result, you end up with these big honkin' paragraphs. Now, for the most part, they are placed well. You don't see whole walls of page-long text. But it does slow things down a little bit from time to time. But it's so gorgeous, you kind of don't care. And the rest of the plot and the characters are sufficiently engaging that you want to follow along anyway. I can also tell you guys, her world building is exquisite. This woman has done her research as one would expect from a professor, which she is. She did an incredible amount of research and really stayed true to the time and the place. The Hungary that she paints, I think, is very realistic, but also she has managed to incorporate the magic into her world building in a way that makes sense. I'm never pulled out of the story because, and then magic just happened that nobody seems to be living with for any reason. If I had a bit of a gripe, it was that in book one, we don't really see the consequences of people using magic outside of the Luminates' power. There's reasons for that, of course. There's plenty of world building that makes that make sense. We don't really see as much of that until later books in the series. But I would like to see a little bit more of, like, what does the underground really look like? What can they really do? We don't really get to that in this book. Book one ends in a really satisfying way. It's very hopeful. It's very uplifting. And at no time does our, 16-year-old female protagonist physically take on a dude 3 times her size and win. At no point is she doing things you would not expect a woman of class and standing to be able to do. She wouldn't have those skills, and suddenly she does. None of that shenanigans. It's very grounded. It's very real. So, Blood Rose Rebellion Book 1 gets a Best Beach Reads. Book 2, The Lost Crow Conspiracy, is actually my favorite book of the trilogy, and that never happens. Everybody knows Book 2 ends up being the muddy middle of most trilogies. It's really hard to get behind Book 2, and I gotta confess, part of the reason why is because her cousin Matthias is a POV character. And I gotta tell you, he kinda steals the show. As much as I love Anna, and as much as she is, as I say, a very grounded, very real, very authentic kind of character, and we see her making the kind of mistakes, especially in books 2 and 3, that someone her age would make, Matthias is just way more interesting to me. He has been betrayed a whole bunch by a whole mess of people, despite having, kind of chosen a valiant end, gets robbed of it. And his path forward is it's complicated. And his ambivalence, like, if ever there was a rejection of the call, that's Matthias walking. And when his rejection has real consequences, it takes a lot of those consequences to really turn him around, and even then, he's not 100% sure of the way forward, ever. Book 2 was so interesting. It was so much fun. You do start getting a little heavy-handed. Because, let's face it. If you've got magical elites who are controlling magic, you're gonna get a bunch of rich people bad, privileged people bad, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, okay, I got it. But you also have a lot of not everyone in those circles are bad people. She does a really good job in book 1 of being very balanced about it. Problem is, in book 2, a lot of those people are not on the page for a whole host of reasons. They have scattered to the winds in a lot of ways. And some of them are dead, I'm sorry. But because those people aren't anchoring what's happening, we're kind of left with a lot of the suckiest examples across the board on both sides of the conflict. There's not just one side to the conflict, which again, I love. It's so realistic. It's so grounded in the history. Love it to pieces. So, Lost Crow Conspiracy, by the end, it is my favorite. Love me, Matthias. By the end of book 2, though, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll see what happens. And then the Winter War Awakening comes along, and I can just tell you these things make me sad. One, because in order to find a hardcover copy, because I did book 1 from the library, loved it so much, decided, gotta support the author, decided to buy the series for myself, wanted it in hardcover, got these 2 online, easy peasy, had to hunt for this sucker. And I'm pretty sure it was the last one available because it's actually an old library copy. That's how low the printing was on book 3, is it's hard to find in the hardback. I think part of that, again, is that maybe the advertising on book 1 was insufficient. Because I can only imagine people who actually read it being really, really into it and really excited. But I can also see, even though book 2 is my favorite, I could see people's interest starting to drop off, because by the time we get into book 3, I'm a little frustrated. Because things we have already learned, truths we already know, magic and world building we've already done, gets treated like it's new. I keep waiting for Anna to become more powerful. I keep waiting for her to exercise her magic in really meaningful ways, and it never happens. I keep waiting for other characters to really come into their, like those moments where the B character who's been gone for 6 chapters shows up and does something awesome. I kept waiting for that to happen, and it just doesn't. The ending is fine, but book 3 gets a mostly meh from me, because there are characters that are just totally wasted for no good reason. There's world building and magic that has been done. And look how big these volumes are. These are great big volumes full of world building and magic and awesomeness. And this book should be bigger than it is. And yet it was kind of a slog to read sometimes. Because again, we got stuck in descriptions we don't need anymore. We got bogged down in a lot of internal thought, especially from Anna, and a bunch of internal emotionality that, again, I didn't feel like we needed. Like, just tell us the story, and for goodness sake, don't have Anna standing around watching bad stuff go down and doing nothing to stop it. She literally stands there and watches bad things happen. And I think the justification for it is, well, her hands are being held, her arms are being held, so she can't. But we know from previous 2 books that all the hand-wavium that other wizards and magic people do, luminates, right? That's what they're called. It's unnecessary. And most of the people who have been doing magic underground don't use it. Anna knows this. Anna knows this better than most of the other luminates. So why in the world is she letting her hands be, like, literally, my hands are tied, I can do nothing. It's so pathetic. It's such a sad, unprotagonist thing to do. And the consequences of her standing there watching bad thing happen are absurd. They did not need to go down that way, and I really think it is a waste of the other characters' presence there. I'm thinking that because these came out so quickly, right? We're talking book 1 2017, book 3 2019. Obviously book 2 was in there somewhere. That tells you that this book did not get quite as much time to cook, either in her head or with the publishers or the editors. Something in the process on this one went sideways. And I really, really wish she had engaged with a few more beta readers, given it another pass, taken the time to make Anna just a little more proactive and a little more powerful in the moments where she can be. One of the things I did appreciate is that Anna has a reckoning more than once of being like, I am a 16-year-old girl. Maybe she's 17 by this book. I'm a teenager. I'm not an adult. Running around in the middle of a war. Like, what am I gonna do against armies? Probably not much. What can I do in the face of a ruling power that has magic behind it? Not a lot. But what I can do in this moment is the thing I can do. And when I have identified thing I can do, I will do that thing, regardless of whether or not it's hard or dangerous or what the consequences for me personally will be. And as a result, Anna is a very honorable character. Again, a very grounded character. And she's not terrible to spend time with. Three straight books of her, I did not find her insufferable at any given time. There were a few side characters that filled that insufferable role every now and again. But for the most part, it wasn't Anna. The other thing I appreciated throughout the series was the depiction of the Romani, their oppression, the continued stereotypes that were put against them, the legal restrictions that were on them. I feel like that was done very, very well. I feel like it was depicted very honestly. And the fact that Gabor really struggles when he's separated from his family. That for him, that's a really gut-wrenching thing. The other thing I loved is that throughout the series, the romance is not the most important thing. It's not like, oh yeah, everybody's at war, but we really just want to be together. Gabor and Anna both had things to do. And as a result, when they did want to be together, when they could be together, they tried to. Now, granted, as everyone does, we make some stupid choices for love sometimes. That does factor into book 3, and I was very upset with it at the time. But I get it. I love that Gabor was not just pining away for Anna off the page while Anna was off doing stuff. I love that while Anna is off doing stuff, yeah, I miss Gabor. This is a moment that sucks. I'm kind of lonely right now in the middle of this wilderness, what have you. But then she got stuff to do too. And that seems really healthy to me. I think we all want our partners to be actively engaged in good works. They got stuff to do. We've got stuff to do, but we love and support each other through it. And that's what makes a good partnership. So, overall, The Story Serpent gives Blood Rose Rebellion Book 1 a Best Beach Reads. Same, probably, with The Lost Crows Conspiracy. But since we see so many first trilogy mistakes, with the conclusion being underwhelming and characters being wasted, I think the series as a whole gets a mostly meh. At the same time, I would highly recommend you read it. I think anyone who loves historical fantasy and really appreciates the historical details and the world building will love this series. Anyway, that's all I have for today. So till we meet again, read on, write on, stay sharp.